If you've ever worked a job where the building empties out at night and the place becomes yours, this is the one you don't want to hear. For 11 months, Marcus worked the overnight security shift at an office building downtown. And for about 3 of those months, he wasn't alone in there. He just didn't know it yet. It was 8 stories, law offices, an accounting firm, and a couple of empty floors the owners could never quite lease. His job was simple. Sit in the security office off the lobby from 10 at night to 6 in the morning. Watch the camera feeds, walk around every 2 hours, and sign the cleaning crew out at 11. After 11, the building was his. Just him, the hum of the monitors, and 8 floors of dark, empty offices. That's how he thought of it. His. It wasn't. The first thing was the vending machine on 3. He bought the same coffee every night, and one week the slot he always used kept coming up empty days before the root guy was due. He figured the cleaners were hitting it. People do. Then it was the microwave in the 4th floor break room, warm at 3 in the morning, on a floor where everybody had gone home 5 hours earlier. He told himself he'd imagined the heat. Then the little things stopped letting him. A bathroom on the 6th floor, an empty floor, no tenants, no reason for anyone to be up there. The trash had been used. There was water standing around the sink, still beating, like someone had washed up minutes before. A chair in an empty office had been turned to face the window, and the whole floor had a smell that didn't belong in an office at all. Food and sleep and a body. The smell of someone living somewhere. He walked that floor with his flashlight and his heart going, and he found nothing, and he went back down to his office and told himself a building that old just does things. Here's what he didn't understand yet. His cameras were almost useless. It was an old system. They covered the lobby, the main elevators, a couple of hallways, the empty floors. 1 camera each, if that. Whole sides of that building were dark to him, and whoever was up there had figured that out long before he did. He saw him once, just once, on a feed. 3:14 in the morning, the 6th floor hallway camera. A figure crossed the frame, left to right, 1 second, maybe less, and was gone. Not a flicker, not a reflection. A person, walking, like they had somewhere to be. He sat there and watched that empty hallway for an hour. Nobody came back. The next night, he made himself go up there in the dead hours, 4 in the morning, and he checked the 1 door on 6 he always kept locked. A storage and maintenance room at the end of the hall. It was open. Inside, behind a wall of old file boxes, someone had built a life. Blankets, folded, empty wrappers in a neat pile, not scattered. A phone charger plugged into the wall outlet. A jug of water. It was tidy. That's the part that turned his stomach. It wasn't a mess. It was a home. Someone had been comfortable up there. For a long time. And on the floor, by the blankets, there was a sheet of paper. Handwritten. It was a schedule. It was his schedule. The times he walked his rounds. 10, 12, 2, 4. Written down. Studied. He didn't run. He'd be the first to tell you he wished he'd run. He just backed out of that room very slowly, and he went down to his office, the little office where he sat alone every single night. And he stood in the doorway, and he looked at it differently than he ever had. His spare jacket was on a different hook than he'd left it. There was a coffee mug on the desk he had never used. Small things. Things you'd never notice unless you suddenly understood that while he was out walking his rounds, every 2 hours, on a schedule somebody had written down, somebody had been coming down there, sitting where he sat, in the warm. He called the police from his cell phone, standing in the parking lot, watching the building. He did not use the desk phone. He didn't want to be inside to make that call. They searched all 8 floors. They found the room on 6 exactly like he'd left it. Blankets still holding the shape of someone, the food, the schedule. One of the officers said the blankets were warm. They never found the person. There's a lot of building to disappear into when you know it better than the people paid to watch it, and a lot of ways out during the time it takes a cruiser to arrive. He quit that night. He never went back for the jacket. A week later, the building manager called to ask why he'd left him short, and somewhere in being annoyed, he mentioned the guard before Marcus, how he'd quit the same way. No notice, just stopped showing up one day after about 2 weeks on the job. Said the building gave him the creeps, said he kept feeling watched. Marcus thought about that schedule on the floor of room 614, and he remembered there had been a second name on it, up at the top, crossed out. The other guards. His own was under it, not crossed out. They never caught whoever it was. And to this day, Marcus thinks about those 3 months, sitting alone in that little office, feeling perfectly safe, doing his rounds right on time, and how the whole time, somewhere above him in the dark, someone else was awake too, watching the clock, learning when he'd come, waiting for him to be the kind of careless that ends a person.